Cy, thanks so much for being here, man.
Yeah, you got it, Brandon.
Great to meet you. Thanks
Yeah.
for having us at your office here. Very cool. The coolest office I've ever been to.
Thank you. Yeah, we like to say it's the coolest office in Seattle.
Forget the Twitter building, forget Amazon. Look at where we are.
They've got nothing on the Headset headquarters.
Incredible, incredible. So why don't you start, just tell us what's Headset?
Sure. So with Headset, we're doing data and analytics for cannabis companies. So market intelligence for product manufacturers, brands in the industry, retailers, better understanding what their data is telling them through business intelligence. So just really trying to get insights out of data and share that with people in the industry, people looking at the industry, so they can make better business decisions, essentially.
So there's really like two pieces here, right? There's like data for the retailer, which I learned you cannot call dispensaries here. They are stores.
They are stores.
Stores or shops.
Sure.
I heard somebody else say something like that.
Yep.
So there's a piece for them, correct? So like, what kind of data would you capture at the retail level?
Sure. So that was our first product, was our retailer edition. So a lot of business intelligence, so insights into their own internal data. So better understand segment category trends, so they can identify areas that they should be investing in or areas that they should be addressing that are performing not as well as they should be for them. Really helping them with things like inventory and understanding inventory carry, inventory turn, just some common kind of retailer metrics around that really helps streamline what they're doing so that they can save time, save money. To get a lot of those insights, pretty difficult right now for them. They utilize a variety of point of sale systems that has some pretty basic reporting at the moment, but Headset, we like to talk about as a supercharger for their point of sale, just a whole new way to see their data so they can quickly and easily make those critical decisions.
Yeah, so have you built integrations with some of those services, or how do you work together with those POS?
Yeah, so in a variety of ways. Every point of sale is different, but we do integrate in some capacity with the majority of the largest point of sales right now. So from the BioTrax, MJ Freeways to the Green Bits and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. So you started Headset about a year or so ago, right? Is that?
Yeah. About a year ago. Let's see. It's just about a year ago we actually left Leafly. So yeah, I would say just about a year.
Tell us that story a little bit. I mean, it's one of the most recognizable brands, I think, in cannabis.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations on the exit. One of those
Excellent.
few wins in cannabis. Really cool. Can
Yeah.
you tell us about sort of that transition, and how do you know it's time to leave?
Yeah, I mean it's always a tough choice. We had been doing Leafly. We started that I guess about 6 years ago now. Sold it to a group, Privateer Holdings. Yep. They're based here in Seattle. It's a big reason why we're in Seattle as well now. Yep. We stuck around for about 3 years post-acquisition, which is a pretty common story, in the startup world.
And was that contractual? Is that the way that was laid out, 3 years? Or?
Essentially, yeah. It was. There wasn't a hard time frame on it, but when we started with Privateer, we were pretty small. Privateer is very small. And we scaled it up, to where Leafly is today, or where it was when we left, anyways. Yeah. We just kind of got it to a great spot. Really doing well, like you said, recognizable brand. It's synonymous with cannabis.
Give us a sense of the size of that. I mean, how big is Leaf?
Yeah, boy, I don't know. It's been a long time.
When you left, anyway.
Yeah. I think we were doing about 6 million sessions a month. I think when we left. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've looked at those numbers, but number one on the App Store still when you search cannabis or marijuana, both on Android and iOS.
I'm sure Massroots is super happy about that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was a great run, and we really did some interesting stuff with Leafly. Really what we wanted to do was change perceptions around cannabis for the mainstream audience, to look at it differently, kind of, branded it in a different way. And it did really well, and it still continues to do well. And I think, there's still plenty of room for education in the space. Absolutely. I think, we just had decided we saw a lot of other opportunities, especially around data and analytics. When we were with Leafly, we talked to a lot of dispensaries, we talked to a lot of retailers. And probably the number one thing we would hear is that they don't have the data to make good decisions. So whether that was a brand that was looking at expanding into a new market and trying to understand who are the players in the market, how are they doing, what are my opportunities, or that was a retailer just trying to streamline everything they're doing and not really having good tools to get good metrics out of their systems, we kind of started to think maybe there's something there. And a lot of what we're doing exists in other verticals. it's not specific to cannabis. People need data in any industry.
Absolutely.
So we're kind of modeling a lot on other companies like Nielsen or IRI that are out there doing it for the consumer packaged goods industry. You know, really kind of bringing those data points to this space.
And then I'm sure the long-term plan is to use much of your own data in those external reports, right, from the dispensaries that you collect. Is that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So in aggregate, you know, being able to say, you know, how different brands are selling, what products are resonating with consumers. You know, right now it's so cool with cannabis. You know, it's this whole new industry that's kind of popped up. I mean, we've been in it, you know, 6 years now with Leafly and now with Headset,
Which is a long time in the cannabis industry,
right.
by the way.
It does feel like a long time. I know there's, you know, people that have been in the industry in some sort since, you know, way even before that. But at the pace that it's growing, it does feel like a long time. Like a lot's changed in 6 years. So.
What are the most visible changes? I mean, particularly we're in Seattle, right, which is a little different market than IC normally plays in. We're in California a lot.
Right.
What have you seen in the change in Seattle? I mean, obviously legalization, but you know,
right.
What do you see tangibly?
Yeah, I think you know, just sentiment. You know, people kind of more accepting of the industry now, or people just kind of get it. You know, even in California, when we'd have conversations, you know, what we're doing with Leafly, you know, at the very beginning, it was like, oh, you know, how are we going to talk to people that were doing a cannabis company, you know, 6 years ago? And then once we started talking to people, they're like, oh, of course, that makes so much sense. You know, there needs to be something like that. And now it's just normal. Like when I talk to people, it's almost unsurprising, you know. I think people are fascinated by the space, and it's great conversation, but they're not like shocked that we're doing what we're doing. Where, you know, previously it might have been like, wow, I can't even believe that's a thing. Another really interesting thing is just how mature the industry is getting in legal markets like Washington here, and you know, Colorado as well, and California's, you know, medical is getting very mature also. But you know, the product assortment, the variety of products available, you know, it's not just dried flower in jars anymore. You know, you have tons of different extraction methods, tons of different edibles and vapor pens, and you know, you name it, there's some way.
Topicals, everything is fascinating.
Yeah, breath spray essentially, you know, sublingual spray.
The Listerine kind of strips too.
Yep.
Yeah, wow.
All of that, right? You name it, there's some way to ingest cannabis.
So many modes of consumption.
Exactly, and that's fascinating to see, and it's really fascinating for us to be able to track that and see, you know, what's working, you know, what's actually selling, what's resonating, what are people buying, are they still just buying flower, how are they buying flower, or if they are they buying the breath strips?
Yeah, no, I think the biggest fact that I can point to, I think in Colorado, the taxation, the taxes generated from edibles or non-smokables were significantly higher than what they were for flowers, I think last year, right? Which is sort of a telling fact that, like, particularly new consumers of cannabis, they don't necessarily want to smoke, right?
Right, absolutely. I mean, there's, you know, smoking is kind of out of fashion anyways, you know, whatever type of smoking we're talking about. So people are looking at, you know, vaporization or edibles as ingestion methods. I think edibles, you know, with recreational cannabis now, you have limits on the amount of, you know, milligrams of THC per serving. I think that helps ease some fears that, you know, the casual consumer might have had early on with the medical days, where you had these like really potent small chocolates that, you know, would put you to bed pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, I think about that all the time. Like these culinary experts that are putting so much cannabis in their product that I'm actually not really enjoying their product for all that long.
Sure.
Right? Like I'm taking the smallest little bite of a brownie or something, and that could be the best brownie in the world.
Right.
But I didn't taste it hardly, right?
Right. Or it's the tiniest brownie in the world with the potency, because you can only take a small bite.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think, you know, in the industry we're seeing, you know, products that are, you know, a full brownie, but it's 10 milligrams, you know, something that's more manageable. So I think the casual consumer is moving towards that a little bit more as an option. It's not such a scary thing anymore, where if I eat an edible, I'm going to be out of it for a couple days, because who knows how strong this is. Like it was in the black market, you know, you get an edible and who knows whoever baked it and how much they put in it.
It's scary.
So it's really cool to kind of see a lot of that changing. And when we were first getting involved, you know, we were in California when we started Leafly, and we were in a lot of dispensaries, and, you know, it was dried flower in jars, small strain selection usually, and then there was like a brownie in a Ziploc bag with an Avery label. And now you see, incredible branding being done, packaged goods, like stuff that
Auntie Dolores comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Job,
like the Kivas in California, and we've got a ton of those here in Washington, where it's striking. It's almost like it used to be branding was a huge differentiator. Like you could have a brand and that would really stand out. Now branding is so good across the board, it's just like the baseline to even play in the space.
So is data, just bringing this back here, is data the differentiator? Is that what you kind of sell? Like, hey, you can make better informed decisions here?
Exactly, right? It's costly. It's costly to tool up if you're an edibles manufacturer, for example, and you want to get involved and make a new product, like say a mint, like an Altoid mint, right? Just hypothetical, you're looking, your company, you're looking at that as an option. Maybe one other company does a mint and you want to see, well, is it successful? I see it in a few stores. Is it selling? Right now, previously you'd have to run around to different retailers and try and find out, is that a popular product? Are people buying it? Is it resonating? Try and find people that have consumed it. What do they think? We're trying to kind of normalize that, where you can go to, Headset and get that kind of information before you invest in this whole tooling system and packaging and everything and branding and build that up. You can make those decisions because we can tell how well that mint is selling, how well that mint sells for that brand compared to all the other products that they make. How it's priced at different retailers, what kind of margins can you be looking at, and that's pretty valuable. And I think that is stuff that exists in other industries. If you're going to make a new energy bar, you'd want to look and see,
absolutely,
how are other energy bars priced, which ones are doing well, which ones aren't doing well, what kind of margins can I make before you go and get all the ingredients and the tooling systems and everything else, so to save some money in the long term.
Yeah, very valuable angle that I hadn't thought about. I had thought kind of the investor that needs external data, looking at the industry as a whole, or obviously internally with the retailer saying, okay, what do we need to buy next month?
Absolutely.
But someone that's starting a startup could be very compelling for them as well.
Yeah, there's a wide audience for data. Everybody needs it for different capacities. Like you're saying, like the investor that's looking at the space and, should I invest in this company that says they're going to go into this segment? How's that segment doing? Are concentrates, moving up or moving down? Is rosin a popular new extraction method, or was it kind of a one-time thing that everyone was talking about? Now it's tapering off. It's a lot of guesswork right now, and you're throwing a lot of money at something that's a guess is pretty high risk.
Got it. So if you want people to pay for this data, right, to make these extremely important decisions, it brings up the question of the validity of the data, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you do that? How do you measure the quality of the data you're putting out there?
Yeah, we really make sure that it's accurate. So one of the tricky problems with cannabis is everything is kind of entered into point of sales in different manners.
Yeah.
So someone might call one product across two stores, they might enter it in different ways. Like a flower or a strain, they might add the THC to the tail end of the name, So it's not so easy to just match that down to one product. But we have some good automated systems that really help us match those products and link those products down to a single product, for lack of things like a UPC, right? That everybody, Cheerios, you scan it at one store, you scan it at another store, it's the same number. It's different with cannabis, that doesn't exist. So being able to do that, we have, people as well that go and kind of scrub that data and validate that it's all correct, which is really important. And before we
external people that like contractors that you're hiring to do that, or like mechanical turking, or how does that work?
A little bit of everything.
You don't have to give your secrets off.
Yeah. They're external people at the moment, and some internal as well. That's interesting. You mentioned the mechanical turk. It's a tough problem. We've thrown the problem to Mechanical Turk at one point, and came back okay, but just almost almost as good. Almost our automated methods were better in that sense. So we have, it requires a little bit of domain knowledge, to really understand what you're
Which of course
thinking.
You have tremendous amounts of, and your team. Tell us about your team. I had the pleasure to meet them, hang out for a few minutes. It's only 3 of you today, or how many are on the team right now?
Full time, we've got 4 of us.
Okay.
So you met two of the other founders today. And then we have about 10 contract helpers out there, from data scientists to market analysts to sales.
Got it. The sales aspect is really interesting to me. I'm a SaaS salesman during the day. And what's the strategy there? When you go into a store or whatever, how do you compel someone to make this decision?
Yeah, it's, I mean, for the retailer to help them understand their data, I mean, they get it, you know, because they're trying to get these insights already and they're struggling with it. The larger retailers and dispensaries have staff sometimes to try and pull these numbers that we're sharing with them. But that's costly and it takes that staff a lot of time. And the way they're doing it is, you know, exporting a lot of spreadsheets, doing a lot of pivot tables, spending a lot of time in Excel to generate these insights. And even the product manufacturers, retailers, they're all kind of in the same boat in that sense. The smaller shops, you know, the mom and pops or the smaller stores or the smaller dispensaries don't have that luxury or that privilege, but they still need those same.
And they know they need it.
They know they need it.
That's really cool that the industry has matured that much that they know that they need it. Because I don't think it's like that in a lot of parts of California, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, I mean, California is a sizable state, sizable market, and you have, you know, the small delivery driver, you know, that's tracking everything in QuickBooks or whatever, to the larger dispensaries. For sure, you know, there is a bit of education still for some of the smaller ones, but once they see it, they get it, and they can see, you know, how it helps their numbers every month, you know, saving money on their inventory, making sure they're buying the right products to carry, so they get it.
Yeah, no, very, very cool. I think we're going to do a couple product shots as well, kind of get a look at the product. But if you could just tell us, like, what's the interface like? You know, I mean, is this searchable stuff? I mean, obviously it's a data platform, right? So I'm picturing a lot of bars and graphs and things like that. Am I on the right track?
You are. And so, you know, usability and design is really important to us. You know, we did that with Leafly, and it's a big differentiator when you can have something that looks really clean, really usable. You know, people expect their tools to be functional. You know, it used to be you could do like a B2B type service, and the tools weren't that great.
So I think one of the great things about Leafly was you guys really thought about design from the beginning. It really was like a cornerstone of Leafly. And I expect that no different as far as heads can concerned. Can you talk about the importance of design a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're you know, tech guys, and we understand that, you know, usability is really important. And you know, traditionally it used to be in like the B2B world, design didn't really matter. You just kind of had to use the tools that you had.
Were available, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's really changed, you know. You know, people expect a good interface. They expect the kind of usability that they get from consumer apps, and you see that reflected in you know, hot startups like Slack, right? Which, you know, a lot of businesses are using, but it's almost like a consumer app. You know, well designed, intuitive. So we really wanted to do that with Headset.
Slack is the better designed Yammer.
Exactly.
By the way, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
Not the
or
first
HipChat.
to the table.
Right.
Yeah, HipChat as well, but just did it better. Designed better.
Right. Design, you know, not only visual, but just usability, right? A lot of stuff that might have been tricky in other systems like HipChat, really easy in Slack. And intuitive. So we really wanted to do that with Headset. You know, it's a lot of information, it's a lot of data, a lot of details, and to have a simple system is critical, especially because, you know, people are busy. You know, the retail shops, the dispensaries, they're busy. Smaller ones, you know, just don't have the resources or the time. So we want to make it really easy to get those insights out of the system without having to really dig through and really have this huge learning curve of an interface. So yeah, design was really important, and it's noticeable. You know, people talk about it, and it really resonates with them.
Yeah, I mean, so much of that iteration, right, and that redesigning comes from like that customer development. Right, you know, getting that direct feedback from the customer and then taking that back and changing it. How are you going about that? I mean, how are you getting it in the hands of people? And are you in a beta right now, or kind of what's the status of that piece?
Yeah, so with our retailer edition, the first handful of retailers that we worked with, it was all beta. And when we go into new markets, we kind of are beta as well, for different reasons. Similar interface, although different markets have, you know, Colorado's a little different than Washington because they have a different way of doing things. But you know, it's very similar. But we do work closely with the retailers, the dispensaries, when they get on the platform, get their feedback. It's critical. I mean, the only way you can make something that people are going to want is to listen to your first customers. And we, you know, solicit that feedback. You know, we ask for it because anything that we can hear from one retailer can benefit every other retailer on the platform. So
there is a balance there, though, right? Like you can get too much feedback in a way.
Sure.
At what point do you say, well, you know, we're the founding team and we've got to make the decision even if there's competing sides here, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean, you have to say no sometimes, right? Because, you know, everybody does want something a little different. So it's trying to find that common ground and find those real good opportunities, the stuff that you're hearing from many people. And, you know, the one-offs or the stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense or might just be too technically challenging, you know, we just have to defer those for the moment. And, you know, people usually get it, you know?
Absolutely. So take me through kind of the big like meta vision here. You know, you get every store, every dispensary in the country using your data. Every investor is using this data. I mean, what's kind of the end game for you? I mean, what's the big picture look like?
Yeah, I think like many startups, when you go into a new endeavor, you kind of you think about your exit strategy, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Something that you have to talk to investors about. What's the plan? Is this going to be, you're going to run this business for the next 50 years, or is there going to be some sort of acquisition? And I think our goal is to really aim for some sort of exit at some point in the future. When more states have legislation, or it gets descheduled, hopefully, which the trajectory is there. Things are looking good. This is a huge year for cannabis, right? With California and all the variety of other states. So that's on the way, and I think when that happens, there's going to be an appetite for this kind of information from companies like Nielsen, that are already tracking things like alcohol, that need to be able to track the cannabis segment as well. It's a good opportunity for them to be able to acquire a company and get that data quickly instead of dealing with this fragmented marketplace from scratch.
So that's an open invitation to Nielsen, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, call me. Whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready,
No rush.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting on the dock waiting for your,
That's right. I'll be right here.
your call here.
Rain or shine.
You talked about investor conversations a little bit. Being one of the handful of founders in the cannabis industry with a successful exit, at least that I can name, everybody must want to give you money, right?
Yeah, we did have a lot of interest in our seed stage, which is great. It was really great. We're lucky and we appreciate it. And we, it's nice because it's tough. Raising money can be tough for startups. I mean, you guys, that's, investing in cannabis, you guys get it. So, having a team, having a track record, and having a solid idea, is really what we went out with when we went to raise for Headset. And we were lucky to have some great investors back us, And because there was a lot of interest in our seed round, we had the ability to kind of, decide who we wanted to work with. And we're really lucky to have a great pool of investors and angel investors, on Headset, or backing us. And with them, not only do they bring money, but they bring, good expertise in a variety of areas and a good network, that just really helps us get where we are now, so quickly.
And I guess there's kind of two schools of thought, right? Like, you can take as much money on as possible and grow as quickly as possible, or you can be real bootstrapped about it. And
right.
I think I know what your answer to this question is going to be, but which way do you fall on? I mean,
yeah, so we tried to keep it small in the beginning. We raised, we originally went out for $750, and we oversubscribed a little bit and ended up raising $825, which is a relatively small round. And that's kind of what we wanted to do, because we needed to really, use that money to build the products, to prove what we were doing, is compelling, and we'll have an audience. And that's kind of where we're just now getting to. So this year we're going to probably be doing another raise. We're still kind of finalizing the terms. It's going to be much more significant than our seed round. But with that, we'll work to scale and just hit more market saturation, a variety of services and products that we want to build, but it's just hard to build with a small team.
So are there certain metrics that you look to say, okay, well, when we hit that number, it's time to go for the A?
Yeah, so it's the markets that we're in. Yeah. So when we originally launched, we were in Washington. We really want to hit a majority of the medical and recreational markets before we raise, and we're just now getting there. Okay. So that's exciting to be able to get Headset into the hands of other markets. Cool. And products. So we started with our retailer edition, and now we're building out our reporting services now. So having that and having customers for that is pretty critical, and then we're going to go into the raise.
What's the most expensive part of this? Is it development? Is it sales? I mean, you look to the future. What would the money be used for?
Yeah, I mean it's development. It's engineering is expensive. Yeah. But that's what we are. That's what a SaaS platform is. Sure. Is development. Marketing also, and I think it'll kind of taper off. It's like a plane taking off. All our money is spent a lot on engineering, and data science. Digging into the data is important and relatively expensive. But once the product begins to mature, and as we're in more markets and have that saturation, then the engineering tapers off a little bit. I mean, we'll always be innovating, always be adding, but I expect, a lot of marketing and sales costs to come.
So just before this, I was talking to Anthony Davis of Ansling, one of your investors.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how his number 3 things he looks for are team and founders, right? And it's particularly interesting because you guys, oh, hello. Cool, just pause for a second. How are you? Come on through, man, no worries.
Hey,
You're
buddy.
good.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, we got to include that. That was amazing. I hope we caught some of it.
That's an awesome little life jacket.
Yeah, just on the go, right? So Anthony's thesis is really founder. That's the first 3 things he looks for.
Yeah.
And I find it particularly fascinating that you're working with the exact same team that you did with Leafly.
Right.
Talk about sort of the synergy between you and why that's been so important to carry over.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony's spot on. I think, you read a lot of stories about startups. Early stage founders are critical, and the dynamic between the founders is really important. That's all a company is, when you're starting out, is just the individuals involved before you even have any sort of product. So it's critical to, work with people that you could trust, that can get the job done, that, are autonomous and don't need, management.
Yeah.
All those things are important. And with Brian and with Scott and myself, another great thing, in addition to all of that, is that, we all kind of have different skill sets. I have an engineering background, computer science major, and programming in my early days in tech, but kind of moved in more into product and product management. Scott is heavily invested in engineering, and he's our CTO, and Brian comes from the design world. So to kind of have different skill sets is really great, and they kind of augment each other, and it really helps, with just building a new product. You can really just kind of do it on your own at that point, where, it's not just a business guy and an idea guy, and you've got to find a team to build out the rest. So, that and
also keeps your overhead down.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
When they're your co-founders.
Exactly. Definitely does in the beginning. And then, you can get to a point where you build up that engineering staff, you build up that design staff, you build up the product team, you build up the sales team, and you can kind of get out of, the day-to-day of building all that, doing all that minutia, which is, part of the transition from startup to a little more mature company.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've come to my favorite part of the episode here.
Sure.
I'm always fascinated, aside from the guest's professional cannabis life, their sort of personal consumption of it. How do you like to cannabis? I mean, do you like joints? Do you like bongs? Like edibles? What kind of consumer are you?
Yeah, I'm a pretty frequent consumer. I'm a nighttime consumer.
Okay.
I enjoy it kind of like a lot of people enjoy a glass of wine. Yep. Just kind of at the end of the day to kind of relax a bit, to take my mind off of the day-to-day, and especially when you're doing startups, that's a really hard thing to do, is to kind of stop thinking.
Absolutely.
And so I find cannabis, immensely helpful for that. I prefer to vaporize. I have a PAX 2 that I really like lately. It's pretty convenient.
Yeah.
And I like the variety of flower that I get to try with that.
We got to get you a vape exhale.
Yeah, I love vape exhale.
Yeah,
and
Sabo. A friend of the show. You got to get one, man. It's an incredible experience.
Yeah,
you like to vaporize.
It's funny you say that because we were just talking yesterday about reaching out to Sabo to get vape exhale for our office.
Got to do it.
Just to have around, just to have for end of day sometimes.
How about strains? Any particular strains that you like?
Yeah, I kind of bounce around. I don't have any go-to. Recently I tried animal cookies, was pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty not too bad. And,
a lot of cookies out there these days.
A lot of cookies, yeah. All sorts of cookies everywhere. But it's good stuff. And I kind of, I'll just talk to the bud tenders, or I'll talk to the stores that work with Headset sometimes, especially when we deal a lot with the inventory managers. It's like, what are you buying? What are you recommending? Just to get some insights on what I should be purchasing. But yeah, the variety, there's so much now, like so much variety that I hate to just have like one or two. I like to kind of try them all because just keep getting better.
And then you just go to Leafly and read about them. Is that?
Yeah. Sometimes, look on Leafly. Yeah, right. Where how the reviews are there. So I do enjoy it, but mostly to unwind.
Yeah.
I'm not the most functional. Like I can't work and consume. That's harder to do.
You're the future, man. That's what you are. Is everybody is going to stop drinking alcohol,
right?
Because it gives you a headache,
right?
And you can't work the next day.
Yeah, exactly.
And some people beat their wife. You know,
right? Yeah,
they drive, whatever. You're the future, man.
Yeah.
You got your startup during the day,
right?
And then you're going to go home and you smoke a little cannabis at night.
Right. Just unwind, you know, get stuff done during the day and unwind in the evening, you know. So that's kind of my day-to-day, yeah.
Sai, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks so much. Really nice to meet you. Thanks for having us here.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
And it's
nice it's not raining
Plug
today.
some stuff. Headset.com. What's the website?
Headset.io.
.io.
Yep.
Okay.
So head over there.
Twitter,
and,
Instagram, anything else?
Yep. We're on all of those. You can find us on just search Twitter, search Facebook. You'll find us there. Instagram as well. Head over to the website and you can read all about what we're up to.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, man. It's been really fun.
Yeah, this has been great.
Yeah, I'll see you next time, guys.
Sounds good.